A white officer fabricates a story about a black woman in court, oblivious to the fact that she is a distinguished Navy SEAL. "You misjudged me, Officer Simmons." Yet the truth has an uncanny ability to reveal itself. What could render a courtroom utterly silent in disbelief? A police officer charges a black woman with resisting arrest and assault, his narrative seemingly compelling, until she steps into the courtroom and completely transforms the trajectory of the case. Who is this enigmatic figure? What is it about her testimony that leaves the officer, the jury, and even the judge in a state of astonishment? In this tale, a single deception began to unravel, transforming a quest for justice into a relentless pursuit of truth. Let us plunge into the depths of this matter. The dawn light filtered softly through the thick drapes of the courtroom, creating elongated shadows that danced upon the gleaming wooden floor. The room, despite its majestic design, exuded a sense of suffocation. Rows of wooden benches brimmed with a diverse assembly of spectators, curious townsfolk, journalists scribbling notes, and a handful of faces etched with a subtle tension. Among them sat Monica Jackson, her serene facade concealing the storm of emotions roiling just beneath the surface. Her deep brown skin shimmered subtly beneath the artificial glow, while her meticulously braided hair cascaded gracefully over her shoulders. Monica perched herself with an elegance that suggested an unseen force held her spine in perfect alignment, her hands resting delicately together before her. Her attire was a study in modesty, featuring a pristine white blouse paired with sleek black slacks, a conscious decision that radiated humility and reverence. Her keen gaze swept across the room with meticulous attention, absorbing each expression, each subtle shift. To the untrained eye, she appeared to be just another defendant. Yet, for those who observed her closely, an unusual quality lingered about her, a subtle intensity that felt incongruous for someone facing allegations of a violent act. The bailiff summoned the court to order, and a hush fell over the room as all eyes gravitated toward the front, where Judge Howard Grayson, an elderly gentleman with thinning silver hair, made his entrance. He exuded an aura of command, yet his visage revealed a fatigue born from countless years of overseeing cases he wished to erase from memory. This particular one, however, appeared to kindle a flicker of curiosity within him. It might have been the sight of Officer Bradley Simmons, perched with an air of self-satisfaction at the plaintiff's table, or the whispers surrounding a case that had already drawn the gaze of local news media. The bailiff's voice resonated through the lofty chamber as he declared, "State versus Monica Jackson." Monica stood, her actions measured and purposeful, and turned to face the judge. The murmurs in the space intensified as individuals stretched their necks for a clearer glimpse. Officer Simmons reclined in his chair, a look of assurance playing across his face, tinged with a hint of amusement. Clad in his crisp police uniform, the officer radiated an air of superiority that stemmed from years of unchallenged power. Monica's lawyer, Benjamin Carter, a young black attorney recently graduated from law school, fidgeted anxiously with his notes. He cast a fleeting glance at Monica, seeking solace in her expression, yet she averted her gaze. Her gaze was locked onto the judge, her face a mask of inscrutability. Carter inhaled deeply and rose to his feet. "Your Honor," he commenced, his voice trembling just a touch, "we stand ready to move forward." The judge inclined his head, his eyes moving towards Simmons. "Officer Simmons, you are now invited to take the stand." The officer stood, each gesture amplified, as though he were captivating an invisible crowd. He straightened his uniform, then proceeded toward the witness stand, taking a moment to cast a fleeting glance at Monica. His smirk, though subtle, was unmistakable. A predator confident in the presence of its prey. Monica observed him intently as he recited the oath. She noted the way his fingers danced restlessly, the delicate adjustment in his stance as he settled into his seat. These were nuances that many might miss, yet Monica recorded them with the meticulousness of an expert attuned to the subtleties of body language. She remained utterly still, unflinching, as Simmons commenced his words. As the evening unfolded, Simmons commenced, his voice unwavering and resonant enough to fill the space around him. "As I made my way to the east side of town, I found myself answering a call about a disturbance. I came across the defendant, Miss Jackson, lingering outside an abandoned establishment. Whispers floated through the courtroom. Loitering frequently served as a broad accusation, particularly targeting individuals of color." Simmons continued onward, appearing undeterred. As I drew near and inquired about her presence, she instantly turned hostile. He elaborated, his voice adopting a dramatic flair. She declined to reveal her identity, her voice rising in intensity. And when I tried to calm the situation, she resorted to physical aggression against me. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. Monica stood motionless, her expression an unwavering facade of tranquility. Simmons adjusted his position, putting on a facade of discomfort. She struck me in the chest and made a move to grasp my service weapon. In that moment, I found myself with no alternative but to hold her back. From the rear of the room, a woman's voice whispered, "That sounds like a lie." All eyes shifted, yet the judge swiftly demanded silence. "Thank you, Officer Simmons," Judge Grayson remarked, his tone even and composed. "Please feel free to take your leave." Monica's lawyer stood, a palpable tension radiating from him. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I would like to request that the court take into account, reserve it for your cross-examination, Mr. Carter," the judge interjected. "Let us proceed." Monica let out a gentle breath. Though her patience was being stretched thin, she maintained a composed facade. She inclined her body toward Carter, her voice a soft murmur, urging him to remain composed and concentrate on the details at hand. Carter nodded, yet his expression betrayed a lingering uncertainty. With the prosecution having concluded its case, a palpable weight settled over the courtroom. Simmons settled back into his seat, his smirk blossoming into a full grin. He shared a fleeting look with his comrades positioned in the rear row. Monica caught the wink he sent their way. "Miss Jackson," the judge remarked, his voice laced with a hint of doubt, "the moment has arrived for you to share your truth." Monica rose, adjusting her blouse with a delicate touch as she made her way toward the stand. The room descended into silence as she settled into her chair, the burden of 100 stares bearing down upon her. With careful precision, she positioned the microphone before her, each movement measured and intentional. "Miss Jackson," the prosecutor commenced, a man of middle age clad in a sharp suit, his tongue even sharper. "Could you elucidate your behavior during the evening in question?" Monica inclined her body just a touch, her voice calm and deliberate. "Before proceeding, I must first seek clarification on one point. The officer's narrative is not merely flawed, it is deliberately deceptive." A collective breath was drawn in unison. The prosecutor wore a sly smile. "Such a daring claim, Miss Jackson. Is there any evidence to support that claim? Miss Jackson, is there any evidence to support that claim?" Monica locked eyes with him, her dark gaze resolute and unwavering. "I have faith that the truth will reveal itself in due time." The prosecutor prepared to respond, yet Monica's serene assurance rendered him momentarily at a loss for words. Judge Grayson cleared his throat, a subtle cue for the questioning to proceed. As Monica started to narrate her perspective on the events, the atmosphere in the room thickened with tension. The crowd was captivated by her every utterance, acutely aware that this was far from a typical defendant. Little did anyone know, the wheels of justice were already in motion, and the meticulously woven fabric of Officer Simmons' deceit was starting to fray. Monica perched on the stand, her stance as steadfast as her serenity. She paused, her hands gently placed on the wooden railing, as if gathering her thoughts before she spoke. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension, each heartbeat echoing in the stillness as everyone awaited her words. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm yet resonated with an unmistakable strength. "On that fateful night," she began, her gaze traversing the courtroom with intent. "As I made my way home after spending time with a friend, I paused at the intersection of Magnolia and Fifth, glancing at my phone for directions." She took a moment, letting the details settle in her mind. It was then that Officer Simmons made his way toward me. The prosecutor leaned in, poised to strike. "So, you're suggesting that this encounter occurred without any prior provocation?" Monica inclined her head ever so slightly, her demeanor resolute and unyielding. "Not completely. I found myself on the sidewalk, a place that, to my knowledge, holds no legal transgressions. He came toward me, flashlight aimed squarely at my face, and in a tone that could hardly be described as warm, inquired what I was doing there." "What was your reaction?" the prosecutor inquired, his tone laced with doubt. "I informed him that I was verifying the directions. Monica responded with a calm demeanor. He requested my identification, and I inquired whether I had committed any wrongdoing. The prosecutor capitalized on the opportunity. Did you dare to challenge his authority? I inquired about his motive, Monica clarified, her tone resolute yet measured. I was neither obstructing traffic nor causing any disturbance. I found myself curious about the reason behind his request for my ID. A soft wave of whispers coursed through the courtroom. Judge Grayson tapped his gavel softly. Order in the court. Monica continued, her voice steady and unwavering. Upon seeking clarification, he elevated his voice and charged me with a lack of cooperation. I assured him that my intentions were not to stir up any discord. Yet, just as I was about to utter another word, he seized my arm. Her words lingered in the atmosphere, weighty and inescapable. The prosecutor arched an eyebrow, evidently weighing how to manipulate her testimony for his benefit. Are you asserting that the officer held you back without justification? Monica gave a subtle nod. Indeed, when I urged him to release his hold, he only clutched tighter, he remarked. And I quote, "Women like you ought to understand the art of listening." Gasping sounds filled the gallery. This time, the judge's gavel struck with greater force. Order. Interruptions will not be tolerated. The prosecutor managed a smile, albeit one that felt strained. Ms. Jackson, that is a grave accusation. Can you provide any evidence to support this statement? Monica fixed her eyes on him, her stare unwavering. No, as it seems the body camera he was wearing conveniently malfunctioned. Wouldn't you agree, Officer Simmons? Every gaze was fixed on Simmons, who fidgeted restlessly in his chair. His once confident smirk had vanished, giving way to a subtle tightening of his jaw. The prosecutor took a moment to clear his throat. Let us concentrate on the facts, Ms. Jackson. You assert that the officer held you back. What transpired thereafter? Monica clasped her hands in her lap, her voice unwavering even in the gravity of the situation. I expressed to him that I had not given my consent to be touched and requested that he release me. He did not. Instead, he charged me with resisting arrest, despite my complete stillness. As I attempted to withdraw my arm, he forcefully pressed me against the patrol car. Her words landed like a heavy blow, leaving everyone in the audience reeling. A handful of individuals in the audience exchanged hushed words, their expressions reflecting a blend of incredulity and fury. The atmosphere in the room was palpable, and even the judge appeared momentarily startled. Following that, the prosecutor urged on, his tone now more tempered. Monica's eyes held steady. He secured my wrists with handcuffs and informed me that I was being placed under arrest for assaulting an officer. The prosecutor reclined, seeking to reclaim the reins of the unfolding story. Miss Jackson, you embody strength. Could it be that the officer perceived a sense of threat due to your physical resistance? Monica remained unperturbed. I do not possess greater strength than a trained police officer. Let us be unequivocal. My resistance only emerged when he transgressed my rights. The prosecutor began to speak, but before his words could take flight, Monica interjected. I also refrained from reaching for his weapon. Contrary to his assertions, that was a contrivance to rationalize his application of force. Time appeared to stand still in the room. Simmons shifted once more, a palpable tension radiating from him. The prosecutor's expression grew somber as he fought to keep his poise intact. Ms. Jackson, he uttered, his voice strained. You are requesting this court to accept the notion that Officer Simmons, a distinguished member of the police force, concocted an entire event out of thin air. Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened? Monica's lips curled into a faint smile, marking a delicate yet profound transformation in her demeanor. The truth possesses an uncanny ability to unveil itself, counselor. In due time, the truth will reveal itself. The judge inclined slightly, drawing closer. Ms. Jackson, are you suggesting that there exists evidence that the court has yet to encounter? Monica's attorney, Benjamin Carter, rose swiftly to his feet. Your Honor, we plan to present further evidence as the proceedings unfold. The prosecutor let out a derisive laugh. Further delays, Your Honor. Had the defense possessed any significant evidence, it would have been unveiled by now. Monica pivoted to meet the judge's gaze. Your Honor, the truth may require patience, yet I assure you, when it finally emerges, it will be irrefutable. The judge regarded her intently for a moment, his face a mask of inscrutability. At last he gave a nod of agreement. Indeed, quite satisfactory. We shall adjourn for today. The court is set to reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. With the resounding thud of the gavel, the courtroom was instantly enveloped in a murmur of hushed voices. Monica ascended from the stand, her motions measured and composed. She strode by Officer Simmons, who averted his eyes and took his place beside her lawyer at the defense table. "Do you truly believe this is the right course of action?" Carter murmured, uncertainty lacing his words. Monica rested her hand on his arm, her touch firm and comforting. "Have faith in me, Ben. Tomorrow the truth will resonate more powerfully than any words Simmons could muster." As she exited the courtroom, the whispers of the crowd trailed behind her, a blend of intrigue and conjecture. As the sun dipped below the horizon, it enveloped the town in a soft, golden embrace, painting the evening with warmth. Monica lingered on the courthouse steps, her gaze sweeping across the horizon. The battle had yet to reach its conclusion, yet she stood prepared. She had perpetually been prepared. The courthouse gradually emptied, the day's tension lingering in the atmosphere like a dense mist. Monica lingered at the precipice of the courthouse steps, her figure outlined by the warm amber tones of the descending sun. Amidst the murmur of voices and the soft patter of footsteps, she withdrew into herself, shutting out the world around her. She had encountered more formidable struggles in the past, moments when survival hung in the balance. Yet there was an unmistakable weight to the struggle within a courtroom, where the truth risked being smothered beneath a veil of deceit. Benjamin Carter emerged beside her, his expression a canvas of worry. The young lawyer grasped his briefcase with a firm grip, as though it held not merely documents, but the very burden of his duty to her. "Monica," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, careful not to attract any notice. "It is imperative that we have a conversation." She tilted her head ever so slightly, her eyes steady yet resolute. "What thoughts are swirling in your mind, Ben?" He released a long, slow breath, the mist of it hanging in the crisp evening air. "Reveal to me what you are concealing. The judge is aware of it. The prosecutor is well aware of it. Simmons is beginning to feel the weight of anxiety creeping in. Whatever secret weapon you have up your sleeve, I must be aware of it before we step back into that courtroom tomorrow." Monica's lips formed the subtlest of smiles. "The moment will reveal itself to you in due time." "That's not enough," he insisted, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "I am your legal representative. If we are to emerge victorious, I must brace myself for any unexpected revelations you intend to unveil." She regarded him intently, the gravity of her silence enveloping him as if it were a tangible presence. At last, she gave a nod of agreement. "Join me at my residence this evening. I shall reveal all that I know." Benjamin blinked, taken aback by the abrupt change. "Will you?" "I will," she declared with conviction. "But not here." Monica's humble abode rested on the fringes of town, encircled by towering oak trees that danced softly in the evening wind. The soft radiance of a porch light bathed the walkway in a gentle glow, stretching elongated shadows over the gravel path. Benjamin arrived in his car, alighting with a sense of caution. The stillness of the surroundings felt almost unsettling in the aftermath of the courtroom's tumult. He rapped gently on the door and Monica responded without delay, as if she had been poised there in anticipation. She donned a modest navy sweatshirt and black leggings, a striking departure from the composed demeanor she had upheld earlier in the day. Her hair was pulled back, and her expression remained a mystery. "Step inside," she beckoned, gracefully moving aside. Benjamin stepped inside, his gaze sweeping across the room. The living room exuded a sense of order and simplicity, adorned with just a handful of personal accents. A framed photograph captures a youthful Monica in a navy uniform, her arm draped around an older man clad in a matching attire. A meticulously folded American flag rests within a glass case atop the mantel, while a bookshelf brims with volumes on leadership, strategy, and history. "Do you reside by yourself?" he inquired, driven by a sense of curiosity rather than any other motive. "For the moment," she responded, motioning for him to take a seat on the couch. "Care for a drink?" "No, I'm fine," he replied, lowering himself into the chair with a certain rigidity, placing his briefcase carefully at his feet. "I seek clarity, Monica," focus unwavering. She offered a subtle smirk, recognizing the tenacity he displayed. That seems reasonable. She approached the bookshelf, delicately extracting a leather-bound folder. It bore the marks of time, yet remained in commendable condition. The edges had begun to fray, a testament to years of wear and tear. She set it down on the coffee table before him and took a seat in the chair across from him. Benjamin regarded the folder with a lingering gaze, yet refrained from extending his hand toward it. "What is this?" She stated it plainly. "My service record. All the essential details about my life." He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Are you truly serious? Are you truly offering this to me?" she declared. "You are my lawyer. It is essential to understand the identity of those you stand to protect." With a delicate touch, Benjamin opened the folder, his fingers gliding over the pages. Within lay meticulously arranged papers, documents of discharge, accolades, and certifications of training. His eyes grew wide as he perused the contents. "Wait," he murmured, hastily turning the pages with increasing urgency. He had served as a Navy SEAL. She completed the thought for him. "Retired Lieutenant Commander." He gazed at her, his lips parted ever so slightly. "Monica, this transforms the entire landscape. Why didn't you share this with me earlier?" "It's not merely about who I was," she remarked, leaning in closer. "It concerns the essence of what Simmons embodies. This battle extends beyond my own, Ben. It concerns revealing the corruption and bias that enable individuals like him to evade accountability." Benjamin swept his fingers through his hair, thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. The prosecutor is bound to unravel when this revelation surfaces. And Simmons, he will surely falter. Monica's countenance clouded over. Simmons will stand firm. Men of his ilk tend to intensify their resolve when faced with adversity. Thus, it is essential for us to be astute and deliberate in our approach. Benjamin nodded with a measured deliberation, fully grasping the weight of her words. "Do you believe he is aware?" "Not just yet," she replied. "Yet, there lingers a sense of suspicion about him. You witnessed the way he gazed at me today. He senses an elusive truth just beyond his grasp, and it gnaws at him relentlessly." Benjamin shut the folder with a decisive motion and reclined in his chair, exhaling deeply. "What's the strategy moving forward?" Monica's eyes sparkled with a subtle resolve. "Tomorrow, we will unveil the truth before the court. Yet, our aim extends beyond merely revealing Simmons' deceit. We unveil the mechanism that supports him." "What steps shall we take to achieve that?" he inquired, inclining his body slightly forward. Monica stood, exuding an undeniable authority even in her relaxed clothing. She approached the mantel, her fingers gently grasping the neatly folded flag. She examined it closely, her fingers tracing its contours, before her gaze returned to him. "We compel them to perceive me not merely as a defendant, but as the woman who dedicated 2 decades to safeguarding the freedoms that he sought to take away from me." Her voice held a steady cadence, yet an undercurrent of tension rippled through it, hinting at a tempest simmering just beneath her composed facade. Benjamin experienced a shiver coursing through him, not out of fear, but from the undeniable strength of her determination. "Monica," he murmured, "tomorrow is going to be a battle." She set the flag gently back on the mantel, her hand resting on it for a brief moment, as if savoring the weight of its significance. She pivoted towards him, her gaze ablaze with intensity. "I have been battling my entire existence, Ben. Tomorrow stands as yet another confrontation." As dawn broke, the courthouse stood tall in the soft gray light, its formidable facade stretching shadows across the throng of people assembled on the steps. The news of the trial swept through the night, transforming hushed murmurs into a cacophony of speculation. The gallery buzzed with spectators, journalists furiously jotting down notes, community members anxious for justice, and Simmons' fellow officers, who stood in the back row, a quiet testament to their solidarity with their comrade. Within the confines of the courtroom, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air, creating an atmosphere that was both tense and electric. Monica occupied her place at the defense table, her demeanor serene yet intent. Her navy blue blazer and crisply pressed white shirt exuded a commanding presence, one that appeared to hush the room even before the judge made his entrance. Next to her, Benjamin Carter rifled through his notes, his anxiety revealed by the quiet rhythm of his pen tapping against the table. "Are you prepared for what lies ahead?" he inquired softly, his gaze flickering toward her. Monica tilted her head ever so slightly, her eyes unwavering. "I have been prepared for years, Ben. Let us unveil the truth to them." With a resounding strike of the gavel, Judge Grayson made his entrance, his stern visage scanning the assembly before him. "The court proceedings are now underway. The proceedings shall advance with the matter of the state against Monica Jackson." The prosecutor, a veteran with chiseled features and a suit that appeared meticulously crafted to instill fear, took the stand first. "Your Honor, we aim to bolster Officer Simmons' testimony today and introduce further evidence to substantiate the charges against the defendant." Monica remained composed, her hands poised delicately on the table. She sensed the gaze of the room upon her, yet she stood unwavering, like a steadfast rock against the relentless tide. The prosecutor summoned Simmons back to the stand, his refined composure concealing the escalating unease that permeated the atmosphere. Simmons straightened his tie while making his way to the stand, his steps deliberate and measured, as if burdened by the palpable gaze of the audience surrounding him. "Officer Simmons," the prosecutor commenced, his tone resolute yet controlled. "Kindly recount for the court the circumstances that culminated in the defendant's arrest." Simmons cleared his throat, his voice tinged with a subtle strain. "As I previously mentioned, I came across the defendant near an abandoned establishment. Her behavior was shrouded in suspicion. She declined to reveal her identity and exhibited physical aggression when I sought to inquire further." "Do you maintain your version of her conduct?" the prosecutor insisted. "I do," Simmons replied, his gaze darting to Monica for the briefest of moments. The prosecutor nodded, a look of satisfaction crossing their face. "I appreciate your assistance, Officer Simmons. That will be all from my side." Benjamin ascended gradually, his countenance a mystery. He straightened his tie and made his way to the stand with purposeful strides, each footfall resonating in the hushed courtroom. "Officer Simmons," Benjamin began, his voice steady, yet laced with an undercurrent that prompted Simmons to adjust his position in the chair. "You stated that my client exhibited aggression and made an effort to grab your weapon. Is that accurate?" "Indeed," Simmons responded, his tone unwavering yet his stance tense. "And yet," Benjamin pressed on, "you also mentioned that your body camera failed to function during the incident. Isn't it rather convenient?" Simmons' jaw clenched with tension. It was a regrettable twist of fate. Malfunctions of equipment are an inevitable occurrence." "Indeed they do," Benjamin remarked, offering a subtle nod. "Yet you've served on the force for, what, a decade now? What is the frequency of your body camera experiencing malfunctions while making an arrest?" Simmons paused, his gaze sharpening. "Rarely. Yet it unfolded this time," Benjamin insisted. "In the course of an arrest, did you assert that the defendant exhibited such aggressive behavior that it instilled a fear for your safety?" "Indeed," Simmons replied, his tone growing steely. With deliberate steps, Benjamin turned and began to pace before the jury. "Is it merely a coincidence, Officer Simmons, that a witness in the vicinity recorded a portion of this encounter on their phone?" Whispers cascaded through the courtroom, the gallery leaning in, eager to summon the evidence into being. With a firm rap of his gavel, Judge Grayson called for silence in the courtroom. "Mr. Carter," the judge declared, his tone cutting through the air. "Should you possess any evidence, kindly bring it forth." Benjamin made his way back to the defense table, where he picked up a USB drive. "May it please the court, the defense presents video evidence captured by a bystander at the time of the arrest." The prosecutor sprang to his feet. "Your Honor, this situation is quite unusual. The defense ought to have presented this sooner." "Take a seat," Judge Grayson interjected, his voice firm and unyielding. "Let us examine the footage." The bailiff retrieved the drive and deftly connected it to the courtroom's media system. The screen on the wall sprang to life, casting a glow that enveloped the room in a profound stillness. The footage trembled, the angle partially hidden by the confines of a car window, yet the audio resonated with clarity. Simmons' voice echoed, piercing and authoritative. "Don't complicate this any further," he urged, his fingers tightening around Monica's arm. Her voice trailed behind, steady yet resolute. "Please, I'm not resisting. Just let go of my arm." The audience was captivated as Simmons forcefully pressed Monica against the patrol car. His words resonated with clarity, sharp and undeniable. "Individuals such as yourself are not in a position to challenge my authority." The courtroom surged with noise once more, this time even more fervently. The judge struck his gavel with increasing fervor, his expression clouded by mounting irritation. "Order! I demand order in this court." The courtroom gradually emptied for recess, yet the tension hung in the air, palpable and electric, as if a storm were poised to unleash its fury. Monica remained poised at the defense table, her serene composure undisturbed by the turmoil that the video evidence had stirred. Next to her, Benjamin paced restlessly, his hands flailing in a chaotic dance as he murmured softly to himself. "This is monumental, Monica," he declared, coming to a halt to meet her gaze. The footage utterly dismantled his testimony. Monica arranged her hands with precision on the table, her eyes unwavering. "It's merely a fissure in the wall, Ben. Yet walls do not collapse from cracks alone. We require something more substantial." With a sharp exhale, Benjamin leaned against the table. "What shall be our next step?" "The video is in our possession, and your service record is at your fingertips." This could be the end for Simmons. She gazed at him, her expression easing ever so gently. "It's not merely a matter of silencing Simmons. It's about revealing the truth. In our haste, we may jeopardize our grip on the story we wish to tell. Timing holds the key to success." Just as Benjamin was about to reply, the bailiff's voice sliced through the atmosphere of the room. "The court shall reconvene in 5 minutes." Monica rose, smoothing the fabric of her blazer. "Keep your wits about you, Ben. The moment has arrived." With the judge's entrance and the room settling into a hushed anticipation, every gaze was fixed upon Officer Simmons. The self-assured grin that had once graced his face had vanished, supplanted by a tense, closed mouth and restless eyes that revealed his mounting discomfort. The officers in the back row cast hesitant looks at one another, their once unwavering support now laced with uncertainty. Judge Grayson's voice sliced through the tension. "Mr. Carter, do you possess any further evidence to share?" Benjamin stood, his actions measured and serene. "Indeed, Your Honor, the defense wishes to summon the defendant, Monica Jackson, to take the stand." The atmosphere thrummed with a fresh wave of curiosity. Monica rose, her movements deliberate as she made her way to the witness stand. She moved with a steady grace, unwavering and composed. Her mere presence commanded the room's attention, and as she took her seat, her posture remained as straight as a soldier standing at attention. "Miss Jackson," Benjamin began, his voice unwavering, "the allegations directed at you have reached your ears. Defying authority, attacking a law enforcement officer, trying to take control of a firearm. Do these allegations hold any truth?" "No, they are not," Monica replied firmly, her voice resonating throughout the room. Benjamin inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Let us delve into the events that unfolded that fateful night. Describe to the court, in your own words, the events that transpired during your interaction with Officer Simmons." Monica inhaled deeply, her eyes gliding over the room until they found their mark on Benjamin. "As the night enveloped the world around me, I made my way home after spending time with a friend. As I paused to consult my phone for directions, Officer Simmons made his way towards me. He inquired about my presence, and I provided him with an answer. Upon his request for my ID, I found myself pondering the reason behind his need for it. I found myself in a situation where I was not engaging in any unlawful activity, yet I was compelled to understand the rationale behind his actions." "What was his reaction?" Benjamin inquired. Monica's jaw clenched ever so slightly. "He charged me with a lack of cooperation. As I attempted to articulate my perspective, he seized my arm, holding on tightly, even as I insisted that I was innocent of any wrongdoing." Benjamin advanced toward the jury, his voice lifting just a notch. "Did you issue any threats towards him?" "No," Monica declared with conviction. "I urged him to release his grip on my arm. As I attempted to break free, he forcefully pressed me against the patrol car and secured my wrists with handcuffs. He subsequently claimed that I was reaching for his weapon, a notion that is utterly unfounded." The gallery whispered once more, Yet Monica had more to say. His actions transcended mere law enforcement, she continued, her voice unwavering yet infused with deep emotion. It was a matter of control, a demonstration of power over an individual he believed was incapable of resistance. Benjamin lingered, allowing her words to resonate in the silence. Miss Jackson, much has been said regarding your past. The prosecution has depicted you as a mere civilian who abruptly descended into violence. Is there additional information about your narrative that the court ought to consider? Monica's gaze locked onto Benjamin's, and in that moment her serene facade cracked, revealing a glimmer of something profound, determination, power, and maybe even a trace of fury. Indeed, she spoke, her voice imbued with the gravity of years gone by. There exists additional depth. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation as Monica leaned in, her hands poised delicately on the edge of the stand. I am Lieutenant Commander Monica Jackson, retired Navy SEAL, she declared, her voice slicing through the stillness with precision. For 2 decades, I dedicated myself to my nation, navigating through some of the most perilous combat zones across the globe. I have guided teams through endeavors that demanded unwavering discipline, meticulous precision, and formidable strength. Attributes that I embody in my daily life. Gasps echoed in the courtroom, giving way to an enveloping silence. Even Judge Grayson appeared briefly stunned, his gavel suspended in the air. Simmons' complexion drained of color, his jaw clenched as though he were straining to contain his response. Benjamin advanced, his voice elevating with intensity. Miss Jackson, your training as a Navy SEAL has equipped you to navigate high-pressure situations with remarkable skill. Did you apply any of that training during your interaction with Officer Simmons? Indeed, Monica replied with unwavering certainty. I employed it to maintain my composure, to diffuse the tension, and to safeguard myself from danger without turning to aggression. At any moment, did you try to inflict harm on Officer Simmons or make a move towards his weapon? Benjamin inquired. No, Monica declared, her tone resolute. My training equipped me with the skills to evaluate threats and react accordingly. Simmons posed no danger to my physical well-being. Rather, he endangered my sense of dignity, and I was resolute in my determination to protect it. The courtroom surged with renewed intensity, the echoes of Monica's words hanging heavily in the air. The judge struck his gavel with increasing fervor, his expression a complex blend of exasperation and wonder. Order! I demand order in this court. As the clamor faded away, Benjamin faced the jury, his voice unwavering yet brimming with determination. Esteemed members of the jury, you have listened to Officer Simmons' account of the events, and now you have the opportunity to hear the truth from a woman who has dedicated her life to the defense of this nation. The inquiry you must pose to yourselves is straightforward. Whom do you trust? The prosecutor sat still, his complexion wan and his gaze locked onto the table before him. Simmons fixed his gaze forward, his fingers gripping the arms of his chair with a fierce intensity. As Monica descended from the stand, the gravity of her testimony hung palpably in the air. She made her way back to her seat, her head held high as she leaned in toward Benjamin. Now, she murmured gently. The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with tension, almost palpable in its intensity. Officer Bradley Simmons occupied the plaintiff's table, his complexion wan and slick with a sheen of perspiration. The calm demeanor he had brought into the courtroom had vanished, supplanted by a subtle quiver in his hands as he clutched the edge of the table. The officers, a steadfast presence in the rear, shared furtive looks of concern. They had arrived with the expectation of witnessing justice unfold, or so they believed. Yet, uncertainties began to infiltrate their thoughts, much like unwelcome shadows. The judge, typically a bastion of composure, revealed subtle traces of fatigue as he surveyed the courtroom, finally directing his attention to Simmons' attorney. Mr. Avery, does the prosecution intend to move forward with redirect, or would you prefer a moment to reassess your approach? The prosecutor, Richard Avery, stood up rigidly from his chair, his meticulously maintained composure revealing the initial hints of a fissure. He tightened his tie, resembling the constriction of a noose, and approached the witness stand with a deliberate stride. His voice, typically crisp and authoritative, held a subtle hint of urgency. Your Honor, he began, we intend to summon Officer Simmons back to the stand to elucidate certain inconsistencies. The judge inclined his head, a flicker of intensity crossing his gaze. "Continue." Simmons rose with deliberate slowness, his body rigid as if burdened by the intensifying gaze of those around him. As he approached the witness stand, he deliberately averted his eyes from Monica, whose steady gaze tracked him with an unsettling calmness. As he finally took his seat, his hand quivered while he adjusted the microphone, a subtle movement that caught the jury's attention. Avery drew near, a smile carefully crafted upon their lips. "Officer Simmons, you have listened to the defendant's account and her assertions concerning your actions. Is there anything you would like to share in reply?" Simmons cleared his throat, his voice quivering yet resolute. "Indeed, her portrayal of the incident is embellished. I performed my responsibilities as expected." Avery offered a reassuring nod. "What is your explanation for the video evidence that was shown to the court earlier?" Simmons paused, his gaze flitting to the jury before settling back on Avery. "The video fails to capture the entirety of the scene. It remains unfinished. It fails to encapsulate the circumstances surrounding her actions prior to that moment." "In what circumstances might that apply?" Avery pressed, his voice growing more intense. "She stood her ground," Simmons declared, his voice rising in volume, as though to reclaim a sense of authority. "She stood her ground, defying my authority with unwavering resolve. I found it necessary to take swift action to uphold order." Monica observed him with an expression tinged with a hint of pity, her hands resting delicately folded on the table before her. Benjamin leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "He's unraveling." She offered a subtle nod, her silence profound, her attention steadfast. Avery pressed on, his tone becoming increasingly fervent. "Do you maintain your assertion that the defendant tried to grab your weapon?" "Indeed," Simmons replied, though the utterance emerged with less strength than he had hoped. "She darted toward my side with an unexpected swiftness. I found it necessary to shield myself." Benjamin sprang to his feet. "Your Honor, I respectfully request permission to proceed with cross-examination." Judge Grayson gave a brief nod, approval granted. With measured steps, Benjamin made his way to the stand, each movement purposeful and intentional. He halted mere feet from Simmons, his presence commanding yet not overwhelming. He allowed the silence to linger in the air for a moment, compelling Simmons to lock eyes with him. "Officer Simmons," Benjamin began, his voice steady yet laced with an underlying intensity. "You've stated on several occasions that my client attempted to grab your weapon. Is that accurate?" "Indeed," Simmons responded. Yet there was a noticeable absence of the conviction that had characterized his earlier tone. "Nevertheless," Benjamin pressed on, "noting that you offered no tangible proof to back up this assertion. Without any fingerprints on your holster, lacking corroborating testimony, all that remains is your word." Simmons' jaw clenched with tension. "I am certain of what I witnessed." Benjamin inclined his head with a measured deliberation, as if weighing the significance of the assertion. "You know what you saw," he reiterated. "However, the court has encountered a different narrative, one presented through video evidence that challenges your version of events, illustrating that my client remained calm and cooperative until the situation was escalated by your actions." "That video doesn't capture the entire narrative," Simmons remarked, his voice escalating in intensity. "It has been removed from its intended context." Benjamin inclined his head ever so slightly. "Is this situation not aligned with the context?" "Let us delve into the realm of context." He faced the jury, his voice rising in intensity. "A man approached a law-abiding citizen, demanding her identification without justification, and when challenged, he resorted to the use of force. A man who subsequently perjured himself to conceal his deeds." The prosecutor raised an objection, yet the judge dismissed it with a wave of his hand, signaling for Benjamin to proceed. Benjamin faced Simmons once more, his voice lowering to a chilling whisper. "Officer Simmons, you have leveled an accusation against a distinguished Navy SEAL, a woman who has dedicated her life to serving this nation with unwavering honor, branding her as a threat. Pray tell, does it stir a sense of embarrassment within you to realize that the individual you sought to intimidate has encountered perils far beyond your comprehension?" Simmons recoiled, his poise unraveling even more. "That holds no significance. That night, she certainly didn't embody the spirit of a Navy SEAL. You certainly did not embody the role of a police officer," Benjamin retorted, his tone cutting through the air. "Your behavior resembled that of a bully, someone who believed he could escape the consequences of misusing his power. Yet, you never anticipated her resolve to confront you, did you? The atmosphere hung heavy with silence, as Benjamin's words bore down on all those gathered. Simmons parted his lips, yet silence enveloped him, leaving him voiceless. Benjamin faced the judge. "Your Honor, I have no additional inquiries to present." Simmons descended from the stand, his shoulders drooping as he made his way back to his seat. His fellow officers averted their eyes, the once unwavering confidence they held in him now overshadowed by uncertainty. Monica observed him intently for a moment before inclining her body closer to Benjamin. The walls began to give way. Benjamin inclined his head, a faint smile playing at the edges of his mouth. "Let us complete the task at hand." The courtroom was thick with silence as Officer Bradley Simmons made his way back to his seat. His once unshakable facade had shattered, leaving him resembling a figure teetering on the brink of a collapsing precipice. The atmosphere in the room was thick, brimming with unvoiced tension. The jury cast furtive glances at one another, their faces revealing an escalating tension. Even the judge, usually composed and indifferent, leaned in a fraction, as if he could feel the shift unfolding in ways he had not foreseen. At the defense table, Monica remained still, her poise a striking counterpoint to Simmons' disintegration. Her serene demeanor had started to take on an almost formidable quality, a subtle power that enveloped the space far more profoundly than any spoken language could convey. With a resolute expression, Benjamin Carter perused his notes one final time, his jaw set in unwavering determination. It had transcended mere casework for him. It had become a reckoning. Judge Grayson cleared his throat, shattering the heavy silence that enveloped the room. "Mr. Carter," he remarked, his voice tinged with a hint of apprehension, "the defense is permitted to continue." With a deliberate motion, Benjamin stood and fastened his jacket, preparing to address the court. "Your Honor, the defense stands ready to unveil one last piece of evidence, a revelation that will unequivocally clarify the events surrounding my client's arrest that fateful night." The gallery hummed with murmurs as onlookers stretched their necks in anticipation of what would unfold next. Simmons squirmed in his chair, his knuckles pale as he clutched the table tightly. The prosecutor, Richard Avery, felt a palpable shift within him, his previous assurance giving way to a cautious unease. Monica held her position, her eyes unwavering as Benjamin pulled a file from his briefcase. He raised it high for the jury's gaze. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he commenced, his voice unwavering yet resolute. "What you have witnessed in this courtroom throughout the past few days is a narrative of dual accounts. Officer Simmons would have you think that my client, a woman with an unblemished record and a life devoted to serving her country, inexplicably turned violent and aggressive. Yet, the reality is much more straightforward and deeply concerning." He unfastened the file and extracted a collection of documents. "This," he declared, lifting the first page, "is Officer Simmons' personnel record, and what it unveils is a troubling pattern of behavior that calls into question his credibility, or rather, his glaring absence of it." The prosecutor sprang to his feet. "I respectfully submit my objection, Your Honor. This matter bears no relevance to the case currently under consideration." Judge Grayson lifted a hand, commanding silence in the courtroom. "Deanie, Mr. Carter, the floor is yours." With a solemn nod, Benjamin turned his gaze toward the jury, speaking to them with earnest intent. Throughout his career, Officer Simmons has faced numerous complaints: unwarranted aggression, prejudice based on race, misconduct. The department either ignored or buried these complaints, yet today they emerge into the light. He distributed the documents to the jury, who examined them with great focus. The whispers in the gallery intensified, and the judge's demeanor shifted, his gaze sweeping over the pages laid before him. "Allow me to clarify," Benjamin stated, his tone elevating just a touch. "This transcends a mere singular misstep. This narrative unfolds a troubling pattern of abuse, ultimately leading to the unjust arrest and mistreatment of my client." He halted, allowing the gravity of his words to envelop the room before shifting his gaze to Monica. "And now, the moment has arrived for her to unveil her truth." Monica ascended with a measured grace, each motion intentional and composed. She strode to the front of the courtroom, exuding confidence and authority as she spoke to the jury. "I am Lieutenant Commander Monica Jackson," she commenced, her voice resonant and unwavering. For 2 decades, I dedicated my life to the United States Navy as a SEAL. I have journeyed to realms beyond the wildest dreams of many, confronted perils that remain unknown to the vast majority. And throughout this odyssey, I have steadfastly adhered to the utmost principles of integrity and discipline. Her gaze traversed the jury, every word imbued with the gravity of her lived experiences. I've encountered foes on the battlefield, yet I never imagined I would confront one within my own homeland. On that particular night, I posed no danger. I was not violating any regulations. I found myself merely existing, an act that for individuals such as myself often feels like an offense in its own right. The gallery stood in hushed stillness, the previous whispers giving way to an unmistakable atmosphere of shame and contemplation. Monica pressed on, her voice steady and resolute. Officer Simmons failed to recognize my humanity. He perceived me as a target, a vessel through which he could demonstrate his dominance and authority. Yet, what he failed to perceive was the depth of my strength, the unwavering resolve within me, and my steadfast determination to remain unmuted. She pivoted to confront Simmons head-on, her eyes sharp and unwavering. "You have misjudged my capabilities, Officer Simmons. Yet, of greater significance, you misjudged the essence of reality. And reality possesses an uncanny ability to reveal itself." Simmons averted his gaze, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. The jury's gaze trailed after Monica, their faces reflecting a complex blend of admiration and fury, directed not at her but at the very system that had permitted such a travesty to unfold. Monica pivoted her gaze toward the judge. "Your Honor, I have battled for this nation. I have battled for what is right. Today, I stand not only for my own cause, but for every individual who has faced injustice at the hands of those entrusted with their protection." Applause filled the room, drowning out the relentless sound of the judge's gavel. "Order!" Judge Grayson commanded, yet even he could not conceal the admiration that flickered in his gaze as he regarded Monica. Benjamin advanced, gently resting his hand on her shoulder. "I appreciate your assistance, Lieutenant Commander Jackson. There are no additional inquiries." Upon Monica's return to her seat, a palpable change swept through the courtroom, altering the atmosphere entirely. The jury regarded her with a fresh sense of admiration, their previous doubts transformed into unwavering belief. Simmons, in stark contrast, appeared to diminish in his seat, his once bold demeanor now a mere echo of the past. Judge Grayson leaned in, his voice laden with a sense of irrevocable conclusion. "We shall now proceed to the closing arguments, and I advise both parties to select their words with utmost care." The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. The air was charged with anticipation, the stillness palpable, as the prosecutor, Richard Avery, stood to present his closing argument. With a nervous tug at his tie, he stepped toward the jury, the familiar air of confidence giving way to a tense facade. "Ladies and gentlemen," Avery began, his voice steady yet devoid of its former enthusiasm, "what has unfolded before us today is a multifaceted situation. Although the defense has exerted considerable effort to portray Officer Simmons as an individual with a dubious history, I implore you to reflect on the larger context. Every day, law enforcement officers are faced with the need to make split-second decisions, frequently in challenging situations. Officer Simmons was convinced he was serving the greater good of public safety. He hesitated, his eyes darting to Simmons, whose expression was a ghostly veneer of discomfort. Avery acknowledged that errors might have occurred, yet this does not alter the reality that Officer Simmons was fulfilling his duty. The assertions put forth by the defense, though persuasive, failed to diminish the reality that the defendant challenged authority, opposed an officer, and heightened the circumstances at hand. Avery's voice took on a steely edge as he concluded. "I urge you to reflect on the facts and remain steadfast against the pull of emotion or spectacle. Thank you very much." The courtroom was enveloped in a heavy silence as he made his way back to his seat. Next to rise was Benjamin Carter, his movements measured and serene. He smoothed his jacket, aligned his tie, and walked toward the jury, exuding a sense of calm assurance. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," Benjamin began, his voice unwavering and resolute, "what has unfolded before us today is anything but a complicated matter. It is, indeed, excruciatingly straightforward." Lieutenant Commander Monica Jackson, a distinguished Navy SEAL and an embodiment of American valor, found herself the subject of a profile that was marred by mistreatment and falsehoods, all at the hands of a man who wielded his authority with reckless disregard. He pivoted, indicating Monica, who maintained an upright posture, her hands delicately placed on the table. Monica Jackson offered no resistance during her arrest. She did not pose a threat to Officer Simmons. What she did was pose a question, a straightforward, sensible inquiry. Why? In that moment, she found herself forcefully slammed against a car, her wrists bound in handcuffs, enduring a profound sense of humiliation. Benjamin's voice soared, his fervor enveloping the space. This goes beyond Monica Jackson. It revolves around the concept of responsibility. It is essential that individuals who don a badge and pledge an oath to protect and serve are held to the utmost standards of integrity. When they neglect this responsibility, the whole system collapses. He advanced toward the jury, his voice dropping to a hushed tone for greater impact. Today, you possess the ability to convey a message that no one, not even a law enforcement officer, is exempt from accountability. Justice transcends mere vocabulary. It embodies a principle we steadfastly champion. I have faith in your ability to choose wisely. Benjamin settled back into his seat, and an oppressive silence enveloped the courtroom as Judge Grayson imparted his directives to the jury. After that, they were released to engage in their deliberations. Time stretched endlessly, each hour resembling a day. Monica lingered in the courthouse hallway, her hands entwined firmly in her lap. Benjamin strode restlessly, his forehead creased with contemplation. The soft murmur of chatter from onlookers and journalists enveloped the atmosphere. Yet Monica managed to block it all from her mind. Do you believe they will uncover the truth? With a gentle disruption of the stillness, Benjamin inquired. Monica gazed up at him, her demeanor composed yet determined. There's no need for them to witness it, Ben. It is essential for them to truly experience it. Truth possesses an uncanny ability to reveal itself. Benjamin nodded, yet the tension in his demeanor was unmistakable. Just as they were about to exchange further words, the bailiff emerged in the doorway. A verdict has been reached by the jury. The courtroom brimmed with spectators as they returned, the atmosphere thick with palpable tension. Monica positioned herself next to Benjamin at the defense table, her expression a carefully crafted enigma. Across the room, Simmons remained rigid, his gaze locked onto the jury box. The foreperson of the jury, a woman of middle age with gentle eyes and a solemn demeanor, rose as the judge spoke to her. Has the jury arrived at a decision? Indeed, Your Honor, she responded, her tone unwavering. The judge inclined his head in acknowledgement. Kindly take a moment to peruse the verdict. The foreperson carefully unfolded a piece of paper and commenced reading. In the matter of the state against Monica Jackson, we declare the defendant not guilty on all counts. An undercurrent of feeling swept across the space. Whispers of astonishment, soft exclamations, and a handful of subdued applause filled the air until the judge's gavel commanded silence. Monica released a gentle breath, her shoulders easing for the first time in days. With a gentle touch, Benjamin rested his hand on her shoulder, a smile emerging to soften his typically composed exterior. The foreperson pressed on. Moreover, we, the jury, emphatically advocate for the pursuit of Officer Simmons' conduct. The judge inclined his head with a solemn air. The court shall consider this recommendation thoughtfully. Officer Simmons, it would be prudent for you to seek legal representation. This issue is far from resolved. Outside the courthouse, a throng of media gathered, their cameras flashing and microphones eagerly extended. Yet Monica remained resolute, her stature imposing as she spoke to the assembly. This isn't merely my triumph, she declared, her voice unwavering yet brimming with determination. This marks a triumph for accountability, for justice, and for all who have ever found their voices stifled by the powerful. This struggle was not mine to bear in solitude, and my resolve to advocate for others remains unwavering. Benjamin lingered at her side, observing with a blend of pride and admiration. As Monica pivoted and strode away, the audience burst into applause. The cameras left in her wake. Months later, Officer Simmons found himself dismissed from the police force, confronting criminal charges for perjury and misconduct. As the investigation peeled back the layers of his transgressions, his once loyal comrades began to withdraw, creating a chasm where camaraderie had once thrived. Monica resumed her tranquil existence, yet her name emerged as an emblem of strength and fairness. Invitations poured in for her to share her story at various events, each time igniting a spark of inspiration in others to rise against injustice. Even after stepping away from the battlefield years prior, Monica Jackson understood that her struggle was far from finished, and she stood poised for whatever lay ahead. For her, justice transcended mere outcomes. It embodied a philosophy, a guiding principle woven into the very fabric of her existence. And in an instant, the truth emerged victorious. A valiant woman held her position, unveiling deceit and insisting on justice within a framework meant to stifle her voice. This narrative transcends a singular triumph. It serves as a poignant reminder that the act of standing firm for justice has the power to transform the world. If this tale resonated with you, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more impactful narratives like this one. Activate notifications to ensure you stay informed about every update, and accompany me on this journey as we explore stories of resilience, justice, and redemption. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to our next encounter.